Welcome to the We Hack Purple podcast, where each week we meet a different person who has a completely different job in the information security industry. This week we have Juliet Okafor, and she's going to tell us what it's like to be a CEO of a startup in the security industry. And our sponsor this week is ThreadFix by Denim Group. And basically, I want to thank you all back. I want to thank you for coming, and without further ado, here is Juliet. And now I'm hiding the image. It's working okay. There we are! And we're live. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Juliet.
Thanks for having me.
So, the show is more about my guests than it is about me. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to introduce myself. I'm Tanya Jacob, Purple. Juliet, could you tell us your name and also if you have a Twitter handle or a handle online that you're known by?
Sure. I am Juliet Okafor, CEO and founder of Revolution Cyber, and I'm often on Twitter as Jules Management, JULESMGMT.
I love that. And I like how you also told me your job title because that was my next question. So can you describe what your job is? Because people are like CEO, so big boss, and that's all they know.
I know. I literally go by Chief Engagement Officer rather than Chief Executive Officer. And I did that because I like the idea of a flat organization. I think the title CEO says more about someone else than it does me. Mostly because, of course, I recognize I'm an executive. I don't think I need to tell everybody that's what I do. But at Revolution Cyber, part of what it is that we're trying to build is really a community around topics related to security awareness and user experience and strategic communications around security.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. Chief Engagement Officer. On internal stuff, I have my title as head nerd.
Well, that's a title too.
Yeah. Well, when I was at Microsoft, I printed business cards that said AppSec nerd at your service, and my boss was like, "This is so true. This is so true."
They were right. But it's not bad to be a nerd anymore, so that's actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we're the people that make stuff work. And so your company does security awareness. Can you describe what that is in case some of our audience doesn't know what that means?
Yeah, so I struggle with the term security awareness. We make people aware of ways to make better decisions, but we go beyond that in that we're communicating on behalf of the security team with users in normal English, in ways that they understand about why they should do good things with security and why they should stop doing bad things with regard to security. That's really what we do. We're not a training company either. We're mostly focused on how do we reduce the risk associated with user behavior. And we will build campaigns, marketing, we'll build ambassador programs, but the idea is around engagement. How do we engage users around security?
Oh my gosh, that's super cool. I like it. I wish that so many other places that I worked had something like that.
I know. It can be really painful.
I remember as a software developer mostly viewing the security team as the department of no, and them coming up and telling me when I did things that were wrong, but never explaining to me what the right things were, just how wrong I was.
And think about when you were a kid and your parents just told you no with no explanation. It was kind of like because I said so. How often were you motivated to do the thing they wanted you to do? So my whole premise is, why don't we treat people like either human beings or people who can make choices? That's all it is.
Yeah, like with respect or something, right?
A little bit of that doesn't hurt at all.
So what is a day in the life like of a chief engagement officer? I heard that sigh.
Yes, it is. No day is the same. And what you're constantly trying to figure out is how to translate what the security team knows into something interesting and engaging for the employees. So I act all day as an employee advocate,
Mm-hmm.
having security teams really consider how people who are non-technical want to receive information. So I spend some days doing research online. I spend a lot of time listening to, on security calls. I meet with a lot of vendors because part of what my job is to we act as an integrator. So we're partners with KnowBe4, we're partners with Mimecast, we're partners with Proofpoint. And our job is to pull it all together for the benefit of the organization. So I spend a lot of my day trying to figure out creatively how to build solutions around cybersecurity and policy management as well.
That is awesome. That's so awesome. So, so I've had a lot of people so I started a company too this year, and I've had a lot of people say, what is your job like? And I say, so I get to do really fun things half the time, and the other half the time I have to answer emails, and I hate it.
Yes. I didn't even talk about the emails I'm checking all day and night. Yes, I agree.
Do you feel like there isn't like a number of emails that is just unsustainable? Like, how do you do it?
I miss things all the time. I think the only way I do it is with my partner, Chidi. She'll ping me and say, they said they need a response now. and I'll go back and like, oh my God. Because, some things come in and you say to yourself, oh, that can wait.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you get to 10 of those things, it's probably time you turn around and start answering some emails. So I couldn't do it without her. And then I flag my email box. I don't have, the zero inbox. I can't do that. I don't know how people do it. I don't do it. My email box is messy and it's full.
Spoken like the truth. Oh my gosh. I like though that you're actually telling the truth, because I really appreciate that. Because sometimes people, they're like, oh yeah, it's totally glamorous all the time. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. No, and for more truth, I'm like wearing partially like I'm dressed up here, but have my pajama bottoms on the bottom. So like, legitimately, it is not glamorous. This is like cute up top, and then it's like bedtime at the bottom. So that's all. But it's like after 9 o'clock Eastern, so I figured you wouldn't judge me.
Yeah, no. I guess it's kind of late for you. Well, not late, but yeah, it's true.
It's later, yeah.
Are you in New York?
No, I'm from New York City, born and raised in Brooklyn. I lived in DC for a time, but just moved to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So Columbus is fun.
Is there a lot of nature there? I heard that there's lots of kind of beautiful landmarky, naturey things.
Oh my God, yes. So one of the things I did today is, so this is one of the glamorous or the great parts of being a CEO. I was stressed out this morning, and so I'm starting to do Payo. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's definitely, it's like a combination of yoga and Pilates.
Oh my gosh, sounds awesome.
Yes, it is, but it's remarkably tough on the arms. So I'm in pain now. But after I did that, I actually drove to a man-made beach. And it's called Allen State Creek Park. So it's a park. And I walked around and like started to get my creative juices going, and I just stood by the water. It was amazing.
That sounds wonderful. So I have a farm on my property, so I like turn my property into a very small farm. And so sometimes I just like, if I have a really tense thing happen, I'm like, I'm just going to go prune tomatoes for 1 hour.
Yes.
Disappear.
And you're able to get out of your mind. Like, it's good.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, I am supposed to tell all of our viewers, please click the thumbs up button if you are enjoying the show. And I'm also supposed to tell everyone that I published a book called Alice and Bob Learn Application Security, and that you should check it out on Amazon. And now I am done that part of the script. It was really smooth, right? You could barely tell.
I mean, it was like a full-on production. It was Hollywood style. It was great.
It's not as good as you, because so we met at the cyber security. So what are they called? The Women's Cyber Jitsu, like yearly awards, or what was?
It was hacker. Was it like a 6? It was something. It was a hacker 6. It was like it was a new event.
Yeah, yeah. And then Jules was the MC, and she had me cracking up. I literally was crying. I was laughing so hard. I was like, who is this woman? I have to meet her. I'm going to try to be her friend, and hopefully she'll think I'm adorable and not creepy. And it seems to have worked.
It worked. Oh my God, you're silly, Tanya.
I know. Okay, so more questions.
Okay, more questions.
So it takes a certain type of person to become a CEO and like start their own company. And personally, I think it takes some bravery. What types of personality traits do you think someone needs to be a good CEO or a chief engagement officer?
I don't think the goal post is good because I think we can be overly critical of ourselves. And I'll tell you, whether I'm good at this or not changes from hour to hour, sometimes minute to minute. What I'll say is you have to be willing to take risks. You have to be a risk taker. And it doesn't mean like these big kind of, everything or nothing risks, but you have to be willing to take steps without knowing what the end result is.
Yeah.
And really stepping out without knowing if there's anyone to catch you. And so I feel like a good CEO can do that while building a business and while developing talent, which is all a juggle, right?
It really is, right? Because you are probably also the subject matter expert at your company, and you are the manager of all the people, and you're trying to get the business, and you're like, everyone don't fall apart or run away.
Yes. It is. It's so funny that my mother, she was like, why would you leave like a really good job to just like go and worry if your customers are going to pay you? Like, why do that?
Does your mom know my mom?
They must know each other. There's a network. My mother was like, so you're going to leave a good job to go do something where you're not sure the check is going to come in? I was like, no, it'll come in. It will. And eventually it did. There was some time. But I think I'm just like made for this. Whatever this crazy, chaotic process is, I'm made for this.
I love it. I really like your attitude.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what types of like aptitudes do you think someone would need to be a good CEO? Like attention to detail or hyper focus or being able to see the big picture of things?
The biggest one is knowing your weaknesses. The biggest one is if you are able to spot and admit your weaknesses, then you can hire a team. We were talking about the people you've hired, right? Because there are certain things in business you want to do, certain things you don't want to do, certain things you really shouldn't even try and do. Yeah. You've got to be able to admit that to yourself early on and then hire for that talent. So one thing I'm really, really bad at is administrative work. And look, I'll go ahead and say there's nothing wrong with work. I believe in like admin work and admins and how wonderful they are. I am one who supports
they are gods and goddesses.
Completely. It is the one skill set God said, we will not give this to you. You will not have this. So I literally rely very much on people around me who are very process oriented and very OCD about organization. Yeah. So I'm surrounded by those people, and I have to build systems. So I need things to be automated because I am neurodivergent. I'm ADHD and gifted and highly sensitive person. Like I'm a lot happening in here, and so I just admit that that's the thing. The benefit of me is the creativity and the ability to win business, but it creates a lot of like an admin headaches for the people around me.
I feel your pain so much.
Yeah, I think there are many more people like us than people admit.
Oh, yeah. I also think, too, that because we're women, sometimes people just assume we're good at admin. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, you're a man. Of course, you can just fix this window that's broken. And I've had so many male friends where they're just like, that when we're born, they don't just like stick tools in our hands, right? Like, it's just. And then they're just like, obviously she knows how to do all these. Obviously she likes taking notes because she's a woman. You're just like, no.
I know. I mean, I remember it was a situation. I was in a room with my customer, male, and we were ending the call, and I was like, so what would be great is if you take the notes and you can send them back to me. I know it. He kind of paused, like, wait, one, you're my vendor. You're asking me to take the notes. But I said to him, I'm like, you're so organized. We could spend all day with me and my scribble scrabble. Why don't you do it? And he understood. I mean, the fact is, my customers understand that there's a bit of crazy in here, but there's also a bit of like results oriented and high energy. So I'm not a note taker, but there are other benefits. And I have a memory. My memory is ridiculous.
Oh,
I remember.
that's good. I have to take notes because I don't have memory. It's just like gone. Also, I learned that by taking notes in meetings that I could boss people around. And when I learned that, I was like, I will take all the notes, get out of my way. And then in the notes, I'm like, action item in bold. Adam, you said you would do this. And then I like send it to everyone. And then a few days later, I reply all. I'm like, Adam, Steve, Jennifer, you said you would do these things. Where are they? And I'm like, it's in the notes. And I do that to like my boss and my boss's boss. I'd be like, Jim, it's in the notes. I don't know what to tell you. It said you have to do it.
I love that. It's in the notes.
I know.
Oh my God. Well, that's how my partner bullies me. And she's always just like, Jules, did you read the notes? And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, let me. You're right. Let me go look in those notes. And then I feel bad because I'm like, they're right here. It tells you what to do, Jules. Just do it.
I know. It's like, oh no.
I know. See the power of the notes. See, I'm onto it now.
I know, but if I had a memory, I mean, then I don't know. I would trade. Okay, so I have more questions.
Okay, more questions.
So, do you think that a CEO needs to have technical skills? And if so, which technical skills do you feel that they need? Because lots of other jobs that we're talking about, they do actually have certain technical things they need to know. But as a CEO, can you just walk around and kind of just be like in the air, do this, do that, and then you probably need to be like the best PowerPoint person ever. You like email like a boss?
No. Not email like a boss. No. See, here's the thing. There's a difference between being a CEO and a leader, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to lead, you have to be able to demonstrate to people that you're worth following. And the way to do that is if you're leading technical people, you should have some technical skills, just something you can point to and say, yes, I've got that skill. What I did when I first got into cybersecurity about 6 years ago now, I sat in the SOC every day alongside the engineers and the analysts and tried to understand like what they were doing, saying, what the language was, so that, and I was just trying to sell the solution. But I figured in order to sell it, I needed to understand what the technical guys were saying, and I needed to be able to speak their language, like they did, so that they would respect me.
Yeah.
And I think just over time, I don't have any certs till today. That's one of the things I've said. I want to definitely get one cert just so I can say that I have one. But I don't think that it's required. I think a lot of that is a perception management thing for me. And just to demonstrate to myself that I could get a cert, I just haven't done it, right?
I don't have any certs.
See?
And I now make a cert
Oh,
through my company.
I love that.
So you know what? I gave myself the cert that my company, because I am like, well, I wrote the entire program, all 3 levels, so I guess I'm allowed to be
I guess you might know something about it. Yeah. So you're doing application security?
Yeah.
Huh. So are you familiar with Secure Code Warrior?
Oh yeah, I know them well. They're lovely humans.
That's so how do you and them kind of fit?
So they teach sort of hands-on gamification lessons of how to write secure code. Well, our first program from our school is a formal lesson with videos, and you have written assignments and there's quizzes and all of this. And the idea is we teach you how to create and launch and run and measure and improve an application security program. So from the beginning to the end where you have a super advanced thing, it's all measured and everything.
I have a customer for you. One of my clients would be a great. Yes, I love that. Okay.
Awesome.
But yes, I kept seeing that, but I wasn't sure how it fit. And like everybody says that they have an academy, and sometimes it's really not. It's just like a video.
I know. I have seen some really brutally bad courses. And so when people are seeing us with like our 4K camera in our studio, and like we have animations that come on and words that appear and disappear, and I'm a really mean teacher, so I make you do like big assignments. Oh, someone is putting in the chat, what? No certs? I'm the opposite. I only have certs, but no experience or degree because I'm new to the field. Well, Sarah, we're happy you're here.
Yes, welcome.
And look at us, we're both CEOs of startup companies and we don't have certs. So it turns out you are even more prepared than we are.
Exactly.
In some ways.
Look at that. Yeah, but I think the thing is experience. And I think that's the hardest part. So you're doing training and preparing people for, the world of app security. And I'm doing training in some ways, as it relates to helping developers just want to do the thing. Yeah. Like just want to. I start at want. You actually teach them what to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's about soft skills too. It's about the kinds of things where you're influencing and persuading and teaching. All of those things are really good ways to develop the skills that you need in addition to the certs. People not getting hired because they don't because of certs, if they typically don't know how to prove themselves beyond the cert, right? So that's the biggest issue.
Well, I find getting that first job the most difficult. And then once you have that first job, if you've been there a year or more, it's like the world's your oyster at this point. You're like, people have shown that I know how to do this.
I think the issue is the gatekeeping to keep people out of the first job. There's so many entry level, you need 5 years experience.
Which is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Actually, so I'm going to just thank my client or my sponsor again, because ThreadFix and the Denim Group are actually hiring junior application security engineers and junior pen testers. So if anyone's listening, go down to the Denim Group or ThreadFix site and go to their careers page, because they're like, oh, do you know anyone that's looking? I'm like, well, I have a podcast. And so and they're like, we have realistic job postings. Like, we want to work with really nice people because we have to work with them, and then we can teach them and show them stuff. And I'm like, that's amazing.
But are they hiring any?
Oh, and it's remote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, but is it like just junior, or can you have more experience in that?
There's also senior ones and intermediate ones they're hiring. Like, they're hiring a whole bunch of consultants right now. So Saray, on the chat, you should apply to. I should go through my emails and get the link and then put it in the podcast notes to make sure everyone has it, because
that'd be really good.
Yeah, and I shared it from my Twitter yesterday, but yeah, maybe I should share it again, because most places they're like, oh, we want 10 years experience so that you can be a junior, and it's like, that's impossible. Like, do you understand how math works? And
I mean, for that reason, I'm actually working with a company. What's the name? Why can't I remember their name? Luna Security.
Oh, Luna with Katie.
Yeah. Katie, who's amazing.
Katie, Missouri, for people who...
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, the interesting thing is hiring, non-traditional talent is a major initiative just across the board. Yep. But I love her commitment and passion for hiring, neurodiverse women, LGBTQ, really young people, junior people who are looking for an opportunity. So if you're looking, Luda Security is also going to be looking as well.
I'm going to type this just into the chat.
Perfect.
I can't seem to type and then talk at the same time, but like I'm trying so hard. It's like, we all have different skills. Okay, and I'm going to put it on the screen now. So Luna Security and Denim Group are hiring. So now it's like on the bottom. I'm going to put it actually a little bit below so it's like it's not blocking your
I'm
face.
not supposed to be able to see that, right?
No, you're not supposed to be able to see it. It's okay. It's in the streaming software as opposed to in our private chat. So like on Skype, it's private between you and then I'm a jerk and I'm broadcasting it to YouTube.
No!
I thought this was private. I actually usually have a script whenever I call Jules, so she's used to this.
Okay.
Can you imagine? You're like, she's my weirdest friend. She also thanks sponsors randomly because she's just such a weird lady.
My sponsor now. I'm like, okay, you're going ahead. Don't let me stop you.
Okay, so let's say someone's watching this, Jules, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to be a CEO like Jules one day. I want to start my own company. What types of training or work experience do you think they should try to get so that they would have some of the skills so that then they could be brave enough? And I mean brave because they're prepared and they know what they're doing, as opposed to just being not thinking and making a poor choice and jumping out.
Exactly. It's someone who makes impulsive choices.
Yes.
There is no one way to become a CEO. I found a lot of CEOs have stumbled into it or have had validation from an external source telling them that they should be a CEO. So most people don't know when they're ready, but beyond the fact that I spoke at the Diana Initiative and I talked about spaces and really focusing on when you know that you've outgrown your space. I think a lot of where we are, especially with COVID and just the remote workforce, you really can be your own boss in this environment. And I think there's a difference though between being a contractor, an independent contractor, and a CEO. And the difference between the two is one is kind of an individual contributor role where you take projects, you manage them, someone pays you, you don't have any company, who's paying your salary, it doesn't come consistently. But if you're a CEO, you have to have leadership skills. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to present information clearly. But I think more importantly, you have to be somebody who can translate information between multiple stakeholders. Because as a CEO, you might be talking to investors, vendors, customers, partners. You have to be someone who feels comfortable having those conversations across the board.
That is really good. Also, I'm sharing the link to your talk in the chat and on the screen because I remember that and it's awesome. And so I think people might want to see it. Also, I'm giving you a thumbs up, which everyone who's watching, you should first of all give this video a thumbs up, but then you should go to the other one when this is over, and then you should click the thumbs up button. And then you should put Jules is awesome.
Yes, please. Don't even go there if you're not going to put Jules is awesome.
Right? If you're not going to do that,
don't even waste your time. I mean, why do it?
So your talk was called Reclaiming Your Space in Cybersecurity. Speak out and speak up? Oh, speak out, speak up, and speak often.
Speak often, yes.
It was a good one.
Thank you.
And so now you have one more thumbs up because I was like, well, if I'm going to go get the link, I might as well actually hit the button.
You're hilarious.
Thank you.
Gosh.
So let's say someone is like, I want to be a CEO. Is there a course that they could take? And I'm asking this because I totally don't know the answer. And
I wish that it was easier to find out the information. It really is divided across multiple like agencies. Like if you're a woman, there's Women Small Business Administration. There's a number of chambers of commerce that focus. I just the information is really divided. The best source of information I have found where it's kind of joined, but you kind of give up part of your companies, like the incubators.
Oh,
They
yeah.
definitely walk you through
Yeah.
the process and help you to make some of the decisions that you need in order to grow your startup. So those are like guided growth
Did you
opportunities.
do one? Did you go to an accelerator?
I did.
Me
I'm
neither.
wondering though if that's not the next step for me. So I'm kind of in this place where I'm like, maybe I think I'm in a position now to put together a board of advisors, and then really start to figure out if I want to get angel investors. And then you tend to have to explain to them, what you're doing in the business. It adds accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to maintain control for a while. That's my only fear with the incubator is that, you kind of lose a lot of control.
Yeah, I also feel like so our company is bootstrapping
Yep.
because I just do some consulting gigs and then it just pays everyone for the month and we don't get paid a lot and that's fine. And then we just keep building the business,
Yeah.
right? And
Same
then
here. Same.
now we have courses out and so then people are buying the courses. I'm like, awesome, that's helping pay everyone's business. You know what I mean? And then like slowly, but people are like, Tanya, you could go way faster if you had investment. And I'm like, I don't know. Relationships,
No,
commitment.
that's it's like you see all the goofiness that we're doing now. You have to like run it by someone else. Someone else gets to tell you whether or not you can't, and
Yeah, and they're like,
it's
Tanya, you're
like
being goofy. They're like, Jules is mature. She can do what she wants. Tanya, stop. Whatever you're doing, stop it.
exactly. Oh God.
I know. Okay. So I have another question. So this is a sensitive question.
Okay.
Does your job pay well? I'm not saying tell me how much you make. I'm saying, are you rolling around in money and you're like, gosh, I'm getting paper cuts. There's just so much cash everywhere.
That was me a few years ago. No. And not because I couldn't. Mostly because I've made a decision to invest as much as possible in the business. So I do take home a biweekly salary. I am covered with health insurance, but I basically made a decision that it was better that I pay other people, right? I have two daughters, so it was more important that I could have time than to have the money, because I could have more money, but then I'd have less time. So
Yeah.
that's really one of the decisions that I made.
I've been doing the same thing, except for I haven't paid myself at all yet. just
Oh my
just
God.
because some of the consulting gigs, I'm like, that just goes right into my bank account because it's not
Yep.
through the company anyway, right? So I'm like, meh, meh,
So
meh.
how do you handle that? So there's one gig that I have that is I could take it through my bank account, but I'm like, should I get it paid through the company?
So there's like pros and cons to each. And I think it really depends on your client, which is appropriate. So for instance, I didn't want We Hack Purple to own my book. So you
Ah,
do not make very much money from a book. However, you do make some money. And
yes.
so I have gotten checks for my book. And
Okay.
which everyone should buy. Allison Bobler and Application Security. Tell everyone you know. Um,
Who's your publisher?
Wiley Books.
Oh yeah. So I have the opportunity to pitch Wiley, and I can't figure out what to pitch him.
Oh my gosh, yes, you should. It'd be so
I know, but
awesome.
what am I going to say? I'm like, what do I say?
Well, you should write a book about how to actually talk to adults about security and actually convince them and get buy-in. They actually go and do it.
We're gonna follow up after
Yeah,
this.
definitely. I'm,
I know I'm actually the technical editor for another book coming out. So I'm going through the process, and they're like, if you want to pitch us a book, feel free. And I'm like, what am I gonna say?
totally should. I already have another book ready after this book, but first I have to not want to die from all the work. So
It's a ton of work.
yeah, did you know you shouldn't start your own company at the same time that you are writing your first book, but also when there's a pandemic around the world and then also you decide to turn your property into a farm? Turns out like that's a lot.
That's not a good idea. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say you shouldn't agree to be the technical editor for a book. At the same time, you're moving your whole family to Columbus. At the very same time, you're taking on one of the biggest organizations in the world for a customer. Like, I promise you, don't do this. It's not what you should be doing. Sit quietly, do one thing at a time, get it done right, and then move to the next thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Seriously. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. So that's probably why. But I'll pitch it just so I can, because they do want me to write one. I just a little nervous.
Well, I mean, you have an expertise, so they probably want it to be about that. They're probably not like, we're hoping she pitches basket weaving. They're probably hoping you're going to talk about security.
I love to weave in security with something else where I'm like comparing it to something. That's really, actually, I like the comparison of how we've handled COVID to the way security is handled. They're very, very similarly handled. Badly. Yeah. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah. Anyway, no comment because I'm in a different country than you, so I'm just going to not... I try really hard not to comment on what other countries do and just make fun of my own country. I just eat my poutine and mind my own business.
Oh my, are you in Quebec?
So I moved from Quebec to British Columbia. So I'm not in Vancouver. I'm in a place called Vancouver Island. So it's the city of Victoria. So if you know where Seattle is, there's this little island above it where it looks like it would be in America because it's below the 49th parallel. And we got it in a treaty by being tricky. So America's like, that's ours. And we're like, no, it's the capital of British Columbia. And they're like, is it? And then we just like rushed some dudes down there and they just like made a little house. And we're like, that's the capital. And they're like, freaking Canada. Always goofing off. And
you gotta admit that they're smart. That was smart.
It was smart.
I mean, you're not sure? Okay, well, we're sure. We'll take it.
We are the only country ever to attack America, right? Like, I don't know if you know in the history how, like, I can't remember what happened. Something where, like, some Americans burned down one of our buildings. So a bunch of us went across and then burned down their buildings and then ran away because that is also a thing we're good at, is running away from danger. and we, like, vandalized and we're really dumb, and then we're like, haha, we are the only country to ever successfully attack America and then not be completely pulverized. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because we're so cute about it.
Do you learn that in school?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like, that one time that we actually attacked a country and it didn't work out that badly because we don't attack things, right? We're like, we're Canada, just pretend we're not here.
That is not your country's personality.
Yeah.
You are not the aggressor at all.
Yeah, and it's a good way to be. People ignore us. Sometimes they come visit us. There's some tourism, but only for half the year because the other half of the year it's too cold. Everyone dies.
Oh, they go back to where they're from.
They're like, no
I've been to, the only place I've been to, well, actually, I've been to Montreal and Quebec.
Oh, yeah.
And I will go ahead and tell you, I do not like poutine. I don't know why it is that you guys eat that. I don't.
It's because we get so cold that we have to have 3,500 calories in one sitting.
Like, you want to take it and pour cheese. You have cheese on it. You got the curds. I mean,
yeah. I mean, all of the dishes from Quebec are a little confusing. Like, there's a dish called aspic, and it is, I kid you not, it is fruity jello with frozen vegetables inside of it. And they serve it at dinner. Like, they'll put it next to, like, a turkey, and then they'll have stuffing, and they'll have aspic. And I'm like, and I looked at them, I'm like, why are you serving jello? They're like, it's not jello, it's a French-Canadian dish. And I'm like, no, dude, like, that's jello, and someone spilled peas in it.
Did you tell them that the U.S. version has fruit?
No, because, like, I was at a dinner and trying to impress I was dating someone, and the parents were there, and there's all sorts of awkwardness. And I speak French, but I'm not Quebecois, and so it just didn't fly. No matter how much I tried to impress the people, it just didn't work. I was like, I even learned your language, and I eat poutine, and I smile, and like, please accept me. But eventually I was like, I have to go. These taxes are killing me. Taxes are 52% of your income in Quebec. 52%. Well, depending upon what tax bracket you're in. So that's before I became a startup founder, when I used to make money.
No, now.
But not now. They're like, you can just live for free, you pauper.
Well, that's got to be a good benefit because the rest of it's crazy. I mean, at least you get a benefit. I haven't found mine yet.
Yeah. Well, we're okay. I'm gonna pretend I'm serious and ask more questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite part about your job? What is the thing you like the best?
I like, and most people struggle with selling.
Yeah.
I enjoy selling the most. 20 years in sales, right out of college. So, I just gave myself away. Okay, anyway.
I graduated 20 years ago, so don't worry.
Okay, good. Whew. So legitimately, I enjoy helping people, and that they pay me to help them.
Yeah.
That's the part that I enjoy. Yes, and it also makes me feel good because there's a defined value on what it is that I offer, and I enjoy that part because you spend a lot of time in life not knowing whether people care or not. When their check clears, it makes me feel very good that they value what I'm offering them.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy most.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've discovered I'm not good at sales. I'm really good at the top of the funnel of marketing, and then the very bottom, I just get a little nervous, and so that's why I hired a sales guy. And he's just like, it's fish in a barrel, Tanya.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Like literally the top of the funnel, and I'm good at the bottom of the funnel. It's the process in between where I need somebody to organize that part. But then I can automate it, so it's really not hard.
Well, I am glad that you have that skill, and I don't know if the word is envious or jealous, where you're like, I wish I also had that.
Yes, no, it means it's neither one of those things. You just wish that you had that skill.
Yeah. So do you feel there's a lot of opportunities for someone to become a CEO of a startup?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So yes, in that the world is our oyster and we can all go out and start businesses. No, in that I believe that not everybody is suited for this. And I believe that if everyone was a CEO, there wouldn't be companies because you need people to work in the company. So it's okay. I also believe that a lot of the way the market's set up is designed to filter out people who don't fit a traditional,
Like a mold?
Like the mold, yeah. There's a startup mold. And people expect you to go through the same process everybody else has gone through. And really, how quickly you can get through those same steps is how you're judged by the market. And unfortunately, it does not do very well for women and minorities. So part of that is you can, but you have to accept that you're kind of starting with the deck stacked against you. So you have to be very clear about what you're trying to do when you start a business.
Have you had people, so I have had people do this since I've started my business, where they try to insist that I do unpaid work for them. And they tell me either it's for exposure, like this guy was telling me I had to give free training for his conference because I would get exposure. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, I'm something called an industry influencer. I have literally 10 times the number of followers that your little dinky conference has. And he's like, well, I'll yank you off the thing. And I'm like, you've been advertising my name for weeks. I'll sue your pants off. Do you want to continue this discussion?
I know for a fact that if I'm connected to something, it increases viewership. And so I do not, there are still things you need to do as a part of the Infosec community to give back.
Oh,
so
of
I
course.
believe in that. I also believe in helping others, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe I need the exposure. Like, it's like, no.
You're not asking me to speak at your conference because I need exposure.
You need the exposure. So I would say, um, I probably did more free things working at my last company than I do now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very clear that I can't afford to just give up my time like that because I have so little of it. So when people suggest like oh my God, my friend, okay, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
A friend of mine from college, she sent me a message on Facebook. She said, Jules, I want you to appear in my weekly podcast. And I said, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
She's seen me online. She sees that I speak all the time. I'm not desperate for an opportunity. She then has her assistant send me a list of things that I have to do to apply to speak. And one of them is a 3-minute video that belongs to her after I shoot it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no.
oh, come
Like, delete, I
and
never got it.
she, see? And I mean, she knows me. We went to school together, but I literally said, I'm sorry, no. Like, I've testified before Congress twice. Like, I know what I'm worth. So please, no, thank you.
Do you feel like as a startup founder that you have to stand up for yourself and stand up for your company sometimes?
Yes, especially with customers. If you allow them to, customers will run you ragged and they will become unprofitable for you. So you have to be very careful. I'm teaching my program managers to push back. I don't believe the customer is always right. I believe that when they're right, but I don't believe that they're always right. And the reason why is sometimes your company and the customer can be misaligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Delivery has a cost to your company, resources, materials,
Yeah.
and the customer may not want to pay that.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, my company has to be what I take into consideration most. I can negotiate with the customer, but you have to be willing to cut very clear lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe with customers, you're constantly having to say, pay me, or you know what, you have other options. I'm happy, okay, I'm okay if you walk away. And being okay with people walking away from you.
I feel that takes some guts.
And cocktails.
And cocktails, yeah. So what advice would you give to someone if they're like, okay, so this sounds awesome. I feel like this is me. Like an actionable item that you could give them if they're like, I want to try to do this?
Okay. And I just talked about this today. So I believe in the 3-page business plan.
Yes.
Okay. So the first page is your objectives and mission. So what are you looking to achieve with the business? And what is your overall mission? What is the thing that will drive you to do whatever your objectives say those objectives are? Page 2 is what are you selling and to whom are you selling it to? Those are the things that are critical because those determine your message, your go-to-market strategy, and really how much your market size is, your likelihood of making money.
Mm-hmm.
And then third page, which should not be the last page, but it's actually most important, there are your products, your inventory, product, services, pricing, and then your financing, your funding. How are you going to pay for the company?
Yeah.
If you can fill in all 6 sections of 3 pages with thoughts, if it spills onto another page, you are ready to at least begin having a discussion about what comes next. If you cannot do that, you are not ready. Now, I'm not saying that some people haven't started a company with a napkin or they just kind of fell into it. I would say that there's enough information out there that you don't have to fall into it and you get to make less mistakes. So if you're willing to spend the time to really think it through, I think it's worth pursuing at least initial conversations with someone who might want to either invest, partner with you, or someone who might want to be your customer.
That's awesome. That's such good advice. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I got that advice before I started this company. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
That's good. Yes.
I have 3 professional mentors that help kind of guide me with my startup process. And
That's great.
Yeah, I feel.
Are they also startup founders?
Yes, yeah. And then one of them, she's now a venture capitalist.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them, she's a venture capitalist now, so she's awesome sauce. One of them, she just literally like last month retired, and she's a two-time startup founder where both times she hit gold. So she got really nice exits both times. And then one of them, he's still in the startup, but they're just doing super amazing. They just got a huge Series B, I think, and he's super awesome. And so they've given me lots of really helpful advice. And like with my last startup company, because I started a product company last year, they were all really instrumental in convincing me to part ways with my co-founder. It's like, it's okay that you really like each other and you get along well, but like you want this and he wants that. And before murder happens, right? Like you can both still be good people. You can still respect each other and like, you know what I mean? But like, they're like, but you will at some point, and so getting mentors is so good. There's some stuff in the chat. So everyone's saying, yes, mentors, mentors. So there's a question for you, I believe. What top 2 books would you recommend for self-development and growth, and the best book for understanding cybersecurity? Well, that's such a good question, Sarah.
Okay, so from my perspective, one of the so I believe strongly in empathy. I believe that the key to my success, all of it has been my ability to empathize with others, put myself in their situation. So I would say Simon Sinek, start with why. Understanding why people do things, why something's happening, the driver behind things is so critical to making good decisions. My company, Revolution Cyber, our entire framework is on diagnosing motivations behind why people click, right? So why do people click? There's lots of reasons why people click, but understanding why this person clicks over that person helps you really figure out how to mitigate their actions and reduce the impact of what they're doing. So you always want to start with why. And Simon Sinek is wonderful for that. So there's one. Now, I have a book. It's like it's a really large book, and it used to sit in my office on top of my cabinet. And it was called the Cso Compass. And the reason why I prefer that over and actually, Marcus Carey has some, Tribe of Hackers. I love that book too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like looking to gain like executive style leadership, understanding the business, the Cso Compass gives you a kind of an encyclopedia of cybersecurity, all the terms, all the things you need to know about how it operates inside of an enterprise. And so I would say, in addition to your Security Plus, your CISP, all those good stuff, I would definitely ask people to take a practical look at this book, because it really is really comprehensive, and a lot of your answers to questions are there.
That is so good. Also, that book is in my wish list, the Start With Why.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I looked at it, and then I instead bought the Murderbot series, which is like it's so good. Martha Wells. It's a sci-fi series. And I also bought So You Want to Talk About Race, which is so good. It's
that's on my wish list, so I have to purchase that.
It is so good because so before COVID, one of the last lunches I had was meeting a bunch of people, and someone's mom was there and she said a racist thing. And so, but I don't understand subtlety. And so this book is helping me respond, not with the F word and stuff. And so, and it was this person's mom. And I was excuse me, I don't fucking think so. And she's like, oh, it's just a thing we say. I'm like, a racist thing. And it was everyone's quiet. You can hear a pin drop. I was like, this old lady. And I was just okay, so I could learn how to talk about race in a way where everyone doesn't want to die, in the whole room.
People are ducking out of your way, stop dropping and rolling out of your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about it's so funny. These conversations about race these days, I think I just want to get to a place where we don't shame people, unless they continue to be a-holes. Then
Yeah.
let's shame them. But for the most part, a lot of people don't get to talk about race in their families and in their lives. So when it comes up, it can be quite uncomfortable.
That's a
And
really
so
good
I
point.
feel like we just need to find like common ground to discuss.
I agree too.
So no F-bombs.
Yeah.
Tanya.
So that's why I'm reading the book. Because in my family, we do talk about race, but we're the type that would be very offended and then shoot our mouths off. And so you're right, it's not constructive conversation if you use the F bomb. And so I'm still learning about this adulting thing. Yeah.
And being a CEO does require that at least half the time. Like you gotta be an adult at some part of the day.
Yes,
right?
definitely. Definitely. Okay, so I have two last questions for you, and they're very tough. So the first one is, do you do fun things outside of Infosec that you want to share? Is there like a hobby or a thing that you do that you just love that you'd like to tell us about?
I used to love to travel. I love to get to know learn new people, places. And I travel, but I used to love to travel by myself because then I could really get deep into cultures and things.
Yeah.
We can't do that now. So I think I've lost that part of myself in that way. But what I also do is now I'll drive to a place and like just kind of explore a city by myself, but like, socially distanced and everything. But I'm now doing more driving trips these days.
I like that though. And also there's comments in the audience of, for me using the F-bomb, sometimes it's okay though. And then for you, there's that empathy that you're talking about changing things. So I like that. I like that. I agree with you. It's sad we can't travel right now, but understandable. But I'm really hoping that the whole world actually just gets organized and we just kick COVID in the butt. So you're just going to keep waiting for those 2 weeks where we all just stay inside and behave ourselves.
And just 2 weeks. That's it. Just 2 weeks.
I know. Okay, so here's the other extremely difficult question. So if someone wants to get to know more about you, is there like an event coming up or are you speaking anywhere? I have listed right underneath you your website address, so I thought that was probably a good one.
Yes. So I'll be speaking October 7th, RSA, Security Awareness panel.
Nice.
So that's coming up. I'm also going to be speaking. I'm the keynote for B-Side Seattle.
Awesome.
Come attend and watch me there. I'm just on Twitter mouthing off all the time. So follow me on Twitter.
Wait, could you say, so your internet froze for 1 second. Could you please say your Twitter handle again?
At Jules Management.
Awesome.
JULESMGMT.
Nice. I follow her, so if you can't find her, just tweet at me and I'll help you find her. But I've also been tagging her a lot, so yeah. Awesome. Okay, so that is all the questions I have. And so now I'm going to do the wrap up, although I'm hoping you'll stay on so we can chat after. But
sure.
I want to thank you so much for being on the We Hack Purple podcast. This has been great. Oh my gosh, you're so fun.
You're fun. Yeah, we had a good time.
Thank you. And okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to you because I can be an adult and actually say goodbye. So I'm going to disappear Jules now. So everyone wave goodbye to Jules. And now, wait, no. And I want to tell everyone, thank you so much for coming to the We Hack Purple podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Up next week, we have even more awesome stuff for you. We have more guests and we have a great sponsor, ThreadFix. Thank you, Denim Group, for that. And I want you to know that we would really like it if you would review the podcast. So I know that this is super selfish of me, but I would really like it if you would give us a review. It's so that other people can find us, and it's so that I know people are actually listening. It's really helpful for us. Trust me, I'm so not kidding. So I'm going to tell you about the next couple episodes of all the awesome humans that are going to be on to help you decide you want to be on the show. So up next week, we have Tracy Martin. She is the founder of DefendCon, and she's also going to talk about basically how to secure IoT devices, which is super cool. We're going to have Katie Paxton Fear on the following week, and she's going to talk to us about, one, being a PhD, which is really hard, and two, being a bug hunter, and that's super cool. The following week, Dominic West. And the following week after that, we have Stephanie Black from Panama. She runs the WOSEC chapter there, and she is a cybersecurity account manager, because there's all sorts of different types of job in this field. You can go onto iTunes and leave a review there. And the week after that, we have Tyrone Wilson, who is another CEO and founder of a cybersecurity company, but his company does something different. And I'm going to have to share that link of where to review stuff on the page in a second, but for now I'm going to sign off. I'm going to ask you all really sweetly if you will check out wehackpurple.com, and thank you so much for coming to the show this week. Again, it was such a pleasure to have you.